So listen, guys, do you remember how the whale started?
I believe so, yeah.
The intro of the whale?
Yeah.
The very first scene where we see him? What's he doing?
The first shot is like an exteriors and a bus is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then there's like a person coming out of the bus and walking.
That's right, yeah.
But what's the very next scene?
He's watching...
No, he's on class. That's
right.
It's a camera, like a computer screen with the center blacked out.
It says instructor.
And he says instructor, and they are talking about, writing as a way to, effectively communicate.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so you know what? Actually, the most memorable scene, I think we're all kind of skating around here, is what he's watching. So here's a little challenge for you guys. Can you guys watch 30 seconds of this?
Oh, you mean Thursday?
There we go. Countdown starting now.
Can you guys show this on YouTube?
We can't.
Is that the actual scene of
Carlos is not even budging.
Carlos is used to this.
I'm not phased. He's so femme, this guy.
Why do you
I don't think I've ever watched gay porn before.
Never.
Really?
This is a first for me.
Yeah.
Not even on accident?
I don't think I've ever. I mean,
how do you do it on
guys
accident?
that click it on accident? That's just what they say.
Oh, so there are no accidents, I see.
Yeah.
All right, so we're past the 30-second mark. Hey, congratulations, everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty
What
open
do you think we were going to do?
There's a dream catcher behind them, which I appreciate.
There's a guy wearing a Chicago Bulls cap, and he's
It's pretty well lit. The thing is pretty well lit.
God, I don't know how you guys do that.
Yeah, you guys.
Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Chew it and do it.
And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code SOS at checkout. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's bluechew.com. Promo code SOS to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring our podcast.
Well, I guess welcome to another episode of SOS VHS. Today we have one of the best producers in town, someone who owes George nothing. Thank you, Ben, for coming. And we're talking about your favorite movie, The Whale, or one of your favorite movies, which I heard you watch 5 or 6 times in the theater.
I saw it 6 times in theaters. I saw it in 4 different states. Yeah.
How is this?
I just was traveling a lot at the time. I saw it in Arkansas, Texas, California, and I guess 3 states. Saw it 6 times. Yeah.
Right, but how can this movie be one of your favorite movies?
What's there not to love about it? It's a 600-pound gay guy.
How is this one of your favorite movies? Because I find all of his filmography pretty depressing, and to watch it like 6 times, I think you watch it once and that's it.
Darren Aronofsky, you mean?
Yeah, Darren Aronofsky.
I assumed you like Aronofsky.
I do like him. Mm-hmm. I just find it very intense and dark. So I feel like I watch it one time and I have it enough. It gets engraved enough in my brain.
I almost feel like it's like hilarious. Like it's so sad, it's funny, which is like a common response. Like a lot of people like we know will have something so sad it's funny. So when I watch The Whale and like during its like darkest moments, I'll just start smiling because it's so bizarre. It also, and I don't want to offend anyone who like loves this movie, but it also feels like a sketch of like an A24 movie. like
what a A24 movie should be like,
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great movie. Mm-hmm. I just don't think I could watch it like you did.
How many times did you see it?
I've seen it only once.
I've seen it twice.
And I think...
So you actually, what drew you to seeing it again?
I literally wanted to watch the stuff that maybe I had missed.
Mm-hmm. And
I did miss stuff. And I liked the side characters way more as a result. Like, especially the missionary character. I was just like fascinated by how weird he was.
Yeah.
Well, I like the twist in that. Was this a play before?
It was.
It was. Yeah.
Okay, that's I didn't know if I was 100% correct on that.
They actually wrote the script like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he never could figure out the casting for it. But he wrote the script with Samuel forget his name.
H.
But
Yeah.
Aronofsky saw it as a play first, and he thought it was brilliant. Yeah. He was really drawn to it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why. Like, it is like a powerful story. First of all, it's Brendan Fraser, who we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah,
which
in
is
a
like,
long time, and also it's like completely from Brendan Fraser, because like he usually, he was always pretty good, but he was like the handsome hero, the Mummy and like
Blast from the Past.
George. Yeah, and now suddenly, he has done some dramatic work. I like him in like it's called Gods and Monsters, or is that the title? The one about the making of Frankenstein.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and in Killers of the Flower Moon, he's in.
Oh well, yeah,
Yeah,
but
of
that's
course.
after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's amazing in it. I think Aronofsky saw him on I forgot what the movie is, like
It's some Brazilian. Yeah. I watched. I got the Blu-ray. And I watched all the special features last night and watched him talk about this. Yeah,
cool.
He was some.
It
was some Brazilian indie film. He saw Brendan as he had some cameo in it.
Right.
And he said he hadn't seen George of the Jungle or any of his other work.
That's interesting.
Aronofsky, I don't think has seen anything that Brendan's in.
He just like thought, okay, well, that's the guy.
Well, he does have good energy. I feel like that's like what's you're drawn to that. Like Brendan Fraser feels like I don't know, like there's something about him where you would just, if you were a director, wouldn't you want to work with him or something?
I think he has this thing within him that you needed for a character like Charlie, which is that that stellar spark of the soul. Like all the way deep down within that darkness, there is this fire. And I think that's what Brendan kind of has.
I love that.
And also Brendan is like a wounded guy.
Yeah.
In terms of
his personal life, it's like, pretty
so many injuries.
Yeah.
And his voice is like that. People make fun of it, but he's had surgery on it. And
right.
Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I remember Aronofsky saying that there's multiple actors who could emotionally do this role, but he wanted someone who was a little hungry because, you need to go through 4 hours of makeup every day.
Yeah.
And, you want someone who's going to be in for the ride. It's like a long, like doing 6 weeks of shooting. It becomes daunting, to have to do that every day. So you want someone hungry who had something to prove. And
no pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. Absolutely.
Right.
Everybody thought he actually gained this is how dumb everybody is. They actually thought that's how fat he was.
Yeah.
Which is insane. It would kill him if you just gained that out of
650 pounds.
That's
because he is pretty. He has gained so much weight from like his Jungle George.
But he was like cutting so hard even then to get down to that weight.
Right.
He wasn't naturally like that. He said back then he was starving himself to look like that. No one can naturally look like that.
Yeah. That's the
Yeah,
the
you
Brad
have
Pitt
to start.
stories
Yeah.
and Troy and all those people who train so hard to do this one role.
And they all have to smoke cigarettes, by the way. It's not healthy.
They do?
Yeah, all those actors to stay in
shape.
Such good shape. Yeah, you have to smoke cigarettes.
Oh yeah, to get rid of your hunger for sure.
You throw up, you smoke cigarettes. That's how models look so good.
Yeah. That's.
I literally will do that. Like
Are you smoking and throwing up?
No, but I've if I don't want to eat, I'll like smoke weed or start juuling.
Yeah, that's what you should do.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, it's like gone for like an hour.
And then you can pass out in an airport.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ben, there was an issue last week at LAX with me. I had a whale-like issue. I left.
You have uncontrollable like binge eating issues?
No, nothing like that. But I had an issue where my blood pressure was so high, I fainted at LAX.
That's so funny.
It was crazy.
Was it in line at TSA? You just fainted?
No, it was right after. I'm pre-checked, so I got through quick.
Nice.
Little flex real quick. But
It cost $50.
$80 for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's funny. It was like my first time in the Delta Club, and I was like, of course, I'm here with paramedics. I saw like all these hot girls walking by. I'm getting my blood pressure checked out. I'm
Please
like,
help.
I know.
Okay, so
I thought you were going to tell me you choked on like a meatball sub in Terminal 7.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I thought that's literally what you were about to
That'd
tell
be
me.
insane.
And then this little Asian just jumping on your back.
I think one of the things that made this movie fascinating to me is like I've seen a lot of plays becoming movies, and usually they are not super cinematic, especially when they keep that on one location thing. But I think like this movie felt from the beginning, it never felt like a play to me. I mean, there is a lot of dialogue, but it felt that, you know, the way that they orchestrated the blocking and like camera moves and all of that felt pretty cinematic.
Great dolly shots. And all that stuff was synced to a T the way Darren wanted it. The way people were coming in and how it was moving. And
it's beautiful, and it's pretty classic because, I mean, he has energy. He did obviously Pie and Requiem for a Dream, which is like had this like crazy energy. I think they call it back then.
Completely different edit.
Yeah, hip hop editing. They call it like those montages that go so fast with the drugs.
Even the wrestlers, like it's just like I was thinking about the wrestler while watching this, and I was trying to see the similarities, and I'm like, okay, they're both like sad, like older men, like going through a huge change. But
I would think like this movie in his filmography probably the closest is the wrestler, but the wrestler is a more cinema verite type of like documentary. This feels more classic.
But I even had to ask you, wait, was this a play? Because I thought I had read that somewhere, but just because it's in one location, it still looks so good that you forget that, oh, this would be perfect for a play because he's 650 pounds or something. Why would he leave this location?
Of course, like it makes sense. I think like the idea, I mean, they build the set with this couch in the middle.
There's so many stories that have been told, you know, and we never get to hear this guy's story.
Right.
Because he's ugly and he's a freak.
Yeah.
And he's disgusting. And nobody ever tells a story about a guy who, you know,
very difficult to sympathize. Like at least at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, you come into this movie, it's like, oh, it's a movie about this person. I have nothing in common with this guy, right? And that's why I think it's fascinating that then slowly you get to
he's like a liar
know
too.
him, and then it's like, okay, well,
that's kind of the thing I really like about the film is every single character is a liar. They're all like lying to each other or lying to themselves. Every single character, all the way down the line.
They're gnarly to each other. I like the daughter's
Especially the pizza guy.
Oh yeah.
What
Oh my god.
He's such an asshole.
He's so weird. But even the missionary, I'm like, this is so bizarre.
But with the pizza guy, wouldn't you do the same? I mean, if you're doing this every day, you're leaving the pizzas there, right? Like and knocking on the door, and you hear this voice.
You would do what he did? That's crazy what he did.
Eventually, you said, "Wait a second, who is in there?"
That's the only character that had no depth to me,
right?
Because he sees a 600. Who do you think was there? He delivered pizzas to this guy every day for years.
There, you know, there's this voice inside.
What does he think? A guy who looks like Ryan Gosling is going to come walking out to get the pizza?
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I don't think he was expecting Ryan Gosling, but I think this curiosity built up, you know, because they did a good job with the expectation of like, he knocks every time, you know, then he talks to him, he talks back, and eventually, you know, there's something, it almost feels like that this suspense, because it's a pretty suspenseful movie, not being a thriller, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It has that like eerie feeling that, oh, something bad is going to happen.
Yeah, there's like a countdown of life, basically.
Right.
Like you're very afraid of like his health the whole time. Yeah, the tension is high in it.
Yeah, and to me, there's a lot of crazy things too in this film, that things that have to do with the U.S., like the fact that he doesn't want to go to the doctor because it's going to cost him money.
This film wouldn't work in Europe.
Right.
It wouldn't. He would just go get...
There's no way the ambulance wouldn't go there. There's not going to be bills that you cannot pay. You know, that is, for a foreigner watching, is like, that's such a U.S. specific thing that I have a pet peeve with that one issue in the U.S. of like, wait a second, like people work all their lives and then they cannot go to the doctor because... Anyway, I think that's crazy, but it's one of those things that is like, okay. And then he's saving all this money. He's like, oh, I don't do anything. I just work. And I mean, he has $120,000, which is a lot of money, but it's also...
In 2016.
For all his life working, and that's what... You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, you know, it's just depressing. It's like he's gay and had a hard life with that. His boyfriend kills himself.
He lives in a shitty part of the United States, where nothing matters at all, and it's just gray. And
he left his daughter. Is like, wait a second, like, and they have those humor part of like a little bit of like that humanity that makes it a little lighter at points because it's like, holy. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like watching Requiem for a Dream. I watch it once and I don't need to watch it again. I'm like already depressed. You know, life is already hard enough. Movie. Give me, you know, something.
I went so deep into this film.
Yeah.
I read Moby Dick by Herman Melville.
Wow.
Yeah, I have read Moby Dick as part of school, like back in the day, and but I thought, because a lot of the metaphors with the sea and the whale and even the sound effects and the music sound like there's a little bit of a sea.
Oh yeah, I mean I think the movie is a direct metaphor from. So what's interesting about, you know, Moby Dick, it kind of takes it's 3 parts really. It's,
right.
It starts as this really funny buddy comedy between this guy named Ishmael and Queequeg.
Okay.
And Queequeg is like this cannibal, and they're both, you know, taking off from the East Coast to go whaling. And Ishmael is new to this whole thing, and Queequeg is great with a spear. And they just keep hearing about this guy named Captain Ahab. He's the captain of their ship. And there's this like legend behind the guy, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, really funny for the first like 100, 120 pages. Then it starts getting really weird. It starts going, and Ishmael starts explaining these descriptions of whales. It turns into like this academic journal. It goes on for page after page describing
the boring
40
parts.
to 50 whales. Yeah. Which she describes as the boring parts to save us from the author's own boring story or whatever.
Sad story.
Sad story. Yeah. But there's also like, it turns into a stage play at some point, where there's like stage direction and there's like music. It gets really, really weird. And then the third act, it all is about Captain Ahab. Movie. And Ishmael kind of disappears for a bit in this whole story. And Captain Ahab is this guy who, he wants to find this whale. And the reason he wants to find this whale is it took his leg.
Yeah.
And so they're you know, they're sailing forever in the middle of nowhere, and they'll pass a ship and he'll shout, you know, have you seen Moby Dick? Have you seen the white whale? And they go, you know, we heard rumor of him here, we heard rumor of him there. And all Captain Ahab wants to do is find this whale. And it's so tragic. At one point, Captain Ahab throws his pipe in the water. He goes, what is the point of enjoying anything if I can't, you know, so
obsessed.
If you watch The Whale, you realize Ellie is Captain Ahab. And she thinks that she doesn't realize that her father is controlling her utterances.
Right.
The whale is like this representation of the unconscious mind. She thinks she's in control, but she's not. Her father and the actions he had against her in his past is driving her utterances. She doesn't have any control over her own life.
Right.
And she realizes through reading Moby Dick that she goes, oh, Captain Ahab thinks he will be happy if he can just kill this whale, but
no.
he doesn't realize it will do nothing for him.
Right.
And she doesn't realize it's a song. I think that's why the essay kind of cuts off, because she starts to realize all these things through this myth that she read. So, and then even by the way the camera even kind of moves around him in the apartment, it feels like a ship.
Yeah.
The whole thing feels like a ship circling him. It's really, really weird.
It's I love that, because she to me, like she circles him around, right? Like, and then he is so uncomfortable in those shots of like him like trying to turn around. But yeah, I think, I mean,
it's like she's hunting him.
She's exactly.
And it's really, here's what I really like about it too. First of all, there's not really a hero of the story. Obviously, Charlie's supposed to be like the hero or whatever.
He's the protagonist, but he's not the hero.
Yeah, no one really seems to. We're not really sure if Ellie, his daughter, is like evil or not. He keeps choosing to see the good in her.
Right.
But she's posting on Facebook like pictures of like dead dogs and stuff.
Right.
God.
She's
the grease fire joke made me laugh.
She's really funny.
Much.
Yeah, she's funny.
She really is hilarious.
She's cruel, but in this sense of like that, you know that something is inside that she needs to get out. You know, like
she's like a millennial, because she's not Gen Z.
Right.
Because it's 2016.
And then, she posts the missionary, like, guy, like, smoking, and that, that gets him in trouble, but also saves him, and the dad decides to look, oh, no, she's just trying to help him.
But, like...
Which is, like, very
was he dumb in that
doubtful.
Moment? Is that just showing how dumb that character is? Because she was trying to, like, ruin his life, and he... flipped it immediately.
Yeah, I don't think she's just thinking that far away of like ruining her life, but definitely she's fucking with him.
She's a little stinker.
It's just
Right.
chaos. Yeah, I don't think her intention was like, I hope this gets him help eventually.
Right.
No. Yeah, it's I don't know how you're supposed to interpret it, because you're like, is this a person who's living in hell who's trying to drag another person down down into the flames with her?
I had empathy for her though because of her father.
Yeah,
I
and
was
also
like-
you see her suffering, right? Like her life is not. I mean, she's only 17 or whatever, or 16, and she's not. She's not there. She's having troubles at school, family. That her life is not going well. So through this relationship, I mean, there's a little bit of hope at the end, at least for her. I feel. At least I decide to look at that final moments like that, because if not, there's nothing to grasp on this movie.
So I took my mom to see the movie. So I was raised really conservative Christian as well in West Texas. So like in
West Texas.
I ended up in Abilene, but we moved all over West Texas in the Panhandle.
So I grew up in Texas. I've never been to the Panhandle.
Yeah, it's a whole other place.
Yeah.
It's that big hat. It's that big strip of
Never
nothing.
been. Yeah.
I've never been there. That's wild. So big of a state. I've never been to like 40% of it.
It's funny when people say that, because it's like, it's someone going like, yeah, I live in the landfill by LAX, and someone goes, what's crazy? I've never been to the landfill.
Yes.
I don't think I've been there. Yeah, think of it.
Is
Well,
that
of
a
course
real
you have
place?
it.
Yeah. I'm so glad we are sponsored by Blue Chew. I think like sex is one of those things, and we have talked about Blue Chew a couple times here, also on Bad Friends, and it's one of those things that I feel Europeans talk about it more freely than Americans. I mean, you are an exception.
Yeah.
I think it's just like more of a natural thing that if talking about sex, and like if someone has any sort of like issues, they don't feel ashamed about it.
Yeah.
Blue Chew is a great service for those people who have some sort of issues. We both know people who have issues and who have taken Blue Chew and have their lives have improved significantly, not only in the bedroom but outside.
Oh yeah, of course. Just because of the confidence it gives you once
Exactly.
Yeah, like the next day or even like leading up, you won't be nervous. But I'll just say that Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost.
And you can take it anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is so simple. You sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days.
Within days. The best part, it's all done online.
Right. No doctor's office visits, no, you don't have to wait online.
Yeah, no awkward conversations.
Exactly. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Chew it and do it.
And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code SOS at checkout. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code SOS to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring our podcast.
I'm so glad that Factor is in our lives. Like, I have a 1-year-old, and the last year I haven't cooked more than a couple times. It's so difficult. I have time for nothing when I'm home. Baby's screaming. I'm hungry. Don't know what to do. You introduced me to Factor. Amazing. Put it in the microwave, 2 minutes and done. And it's, healthy. Have so many choices. It's delicious. I'm so happy. It has improved my life significantly.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I'm very impressed with Factor. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week. That's a lot.
35. I know.
You'll have 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help you make your weekly meal planning even more delicious.
What are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go.
I like the 2-minute meals. Fuel up fast with Factor's restaurant-quality meals that are ready to heat and eat whenever you are. That happens to me a lot. 11 o'clock, I got to eat something good.
We have snacks, smoothies, breakfast, anything. So guys, head to factormeals.com/SOSVHS50 and use code SOSVHS50 to get 50% off. That's code SOSVHS50 at factormeals.com/SOSVHS50 to get 50% off.
Look, guys,
Yeah.
we use Factor. It has greatly benefited our eating at night, lunches when we're not at work. I really enjoy it, and it's improved my life greatly, just being able to cook that fast.
Also, having a microwavable meal that is delicious and healthy is rare. So use Factor is, I mean, to me, has saved my life. So, were you the missionary type of guy?
Yeah. So
Wow.
Well, especially the family dynamic of all of these people, because they all feel like strangers, and that's kind of how. And by the way, I'm not saying before any comments I'm not saying any of this like boo-hoo. I feel sorry for myself.
Right.
This is all interesting to me. I don't feel bad. I'm starting my own family. I'm having a baby in like 2 weeks.
Oh,
I don't.
Whoa.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm hoping it's mine.
Yeah.
No, my wife is like 32 weeks pregnant right now. So she's
I thought you were going to say 32% sure. It's
so like I'm not a guy who holds on to this stuff. This is what it felt like growing up. It felt like we were all strangers in the house, and we were all Christian, and we all is like hardcore conservative Christian. No dancing, no instruments in the church, no clapping. Everyone was going to hell except for our sect. Okay,
Right.
so it was like 1 degree removed from like juggling like rattlesnakes and shit.
Right.
Okay.
wow.
So that's the context. Is I came from a similar background as the missionary in this movie, right? And all the characters felt like my family in a weird way because everybody lacks the same thing. And so no one can give the other thing. No one can give the thing to the other person that they need because they themselves lack it. So it's like all these people are like these missing. They're like they all have
like,
the same missing piece, and they go, "Do you have?" And no one has it. His nurse is an enabler,
Right.
lying to herself. Charlie's clearly lying to himself about his entire life. None of what he's doing is selfless. He just wants to kill himself
Right.
and feel better about why he's killing himself.
Yeah.
And taking advantage of all these people in his life. His ex-wife is an alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
Ellie is obviously so glaringly lying to herself about her entire life and why she's miserable.
Yeah.
The missionary kid is literally lying to people about who he is.
Right. He stole some money. He's trying to, overcome that by like lying.
And so
But
here's what I kind of realized rewatching the movie again. This is probably like my 9th time.
Wow.
Is that movie takes place Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the movie, I have the direct quote because I don't want to. I'm not a guy who can like remember exact quotes, right? But he says at the beginning of the movie when he's talking to everybody, which is weirdly like the audience.
To the class. Yeah.
He's talking to the class. He's like talking to the audience. But it's like a call to action to the world is like a call to action to yourself. It's very strange. He says, remember, the more you revise these essays, the better. The more you change, chances are you'll express your thoughts and ideas more clearly and persuasively.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts to become more honest. Now, here's what's interesting about the play taking place Monday through Friday. Each day feels like another draft.
Right.
He gets closer and closer to rewriting his life, getting to a more honest place. The whole damn movie is very writer-centric. It's coming from the place of, it's coming from the point of view of a writer. Charlie himself is not really, he isn't really a writer, but he's an academic.
English teacher.
He knows a lot about literature.
Yeah.
So I found that interesting. And to answer your first question, by the way, about what attracted me to the movie.
Yeah.
Because I've always loved like very gross, big, disgusting, like fat people and like weird, like morbid things on the internet. I've always been you don't know why these things,
Right.
Like
why you're attracted to these things. Yeah, just like anytime I saw like a freak in public, and you know what I mean by freak, not someone who's like I don't see a guy in a wheelchair and I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? When you see someone where you're like, oh my God, by their own volition, they've completely destroyed themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I can't help but look.
Like 600-pound life kind of.
I love my
stuff.
Yes.
600-pound
So
life.
there's a whole
World.
there's a whole market behind people that just want to stare at these people. Like it's a P.T. Barnum thing in modern day.
But you can also laugh at people who are just themselves who are funny looking. Like they
you can.
Yeah. I was walking in, I think, Louisville, and I saw a dwarf, and I started laughing. My friend pointed at the dwarf, and then the dwarf looked up, and I kind of walked away.
That is funny.
But they didn't like do that to themselves. They were just normal,
Right.
freakies.
God, Carlos.
That's a great trait of your personality, Carlos. Thank you for sharing.
I saw a midget. I saw a gay guy once, and I thought it was funny. But I always wondered why I was so interested in people like this. And then I was reading this book by Osamu Dazai. He's a Japanese writer. Look, I don't want to make everything American here. I want to make things international for you, Andres.
Right. Thank you.
He's one of the most famous Japanese writers. He wrote 2 books and he killed himself. And all of his books are novels, meaning that it's always a story, but the story was basically his own life. It's not autobiographical, but it's basically him. It's a guy who's an alcoholic who like jumps into a bridge and like jumps off a bridge and drowns himself. So, but this one is a short novella he wrote called No Longer Human. And it's a diary that someone finds. And in it, he says, there are some people whose dread of human beings is so morbid that they reach a point where they yearn to see with their own eyes monsters of ever more horrible shapes. Wow. And as soon as I read that, I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I went to see The Whale 6 times in theaters. And I've seen it like 4 times after that.
What cities did you see it?
I saw it in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I saw it in Dallas, Texas, and I saw it in various places in California.
Did people laugh at any points in different places?
Oh, I mean, I was standing up and going, ha! Ha! He's joking!
Yes.
Fuck him! Some viewings were just guys like me.
Yeah.
Weird loner like school shooter guys just sitting in the corner, and like we all were pretending we didn't see each other at other showings of The Whale.
Right.
Oh my God, that's
Like
so
have your
good.
secret nod.
Yeah. You see him at the Burbank Gun Club. Oh hey.
It was things like that, and then like also I took my mother and my father to see it. And, they're very Christian and whatnot, but they could, so my dad walks out, he's like, a lot of bad words. And then
Oh yeah.
and then my mom at the end of the movie, she goes, so when he looked up and like he saw the light.
So God.
No, she goes, does that mean that like he didn't think he was gay anymore and that he went to
It's so.
And I was like, well, it's an ambiguous ending and it's open to many interpretations.
Yeah.
So maybe, when he stood up, he decided he wasn't gay for some reason.
But it's so interesting that you're on, you put so much of your own thing and everything you see.
Well, yeah, especially my mom really was crying the whole movie. She was rooting for this guy. She felt so bad for him.
Right.
He's in so much pain.
He's in so much pain. That's the reality. Is like, I think you have empathy for him because despite the fact that he's doing this to himself, he has a tragic, first he abandoned his daughter. So for
He abandoned his life.
yeah.
Insane.
For love, but really I understand like that you would leave your wife because you discover you're gay or you're gay and fine.
Yeah.
But now your daughter and never 8 years or
Yeah,
whatever.
like at least hang out with her. Like now you can buy her like cool shit.
Now you
that,
can dress her
Yeah,
properly. Yeah.
Clearly, Charlie feels so much shame that as
Right.
soon as he did what he did, he didn't even want to see his loved ones anymore.
Right.
People like that will often just hide. Once people like, especially like depending on whatever like sort of mental disorder you have, like if it's BPD or like narcissism or something like that, like when they're found out, when the veil falls, they will often go completely silent, and then they might disappear from your life.
Yeah.
That's so dark.
And that's kind of what Charlie did, and now he's circling back, trying to make amends before he dies.
Right.
Especially so he can like give her the money and like
I
feel
think-
good about being,
Yeah, there's a little bit of that
total
looking
pig.
for that redemption, and at least on his last week on Earth. But also like the fact that obviously his lover, friend, partner kills himself.
Yeah.
Because of all this religion and this guilt and all of that, and then his way of grieving is like destroying himself, right? Like, which is a very, I mean, I imagine that there's things that happen to people like that, they destroy themselves too, but feels like such torture to himself, right? Because like they have those moments in the movie where you see him eating that is really, I mean, it is hard to watch.
Yeah, I think people like to self-destruct when things like it's so hard to like rise from ashes or whatever, like through any like death in the family, divorce, whatever. So it's like this is like the worst case scenario.
Yeah, it's a different type of drug because you could have seen him like going, alcoholic or getting into any other sort of drugs. Oh yeah. He goes into food, which I think it just kills you differently and
he should have been like in San Francisco or something where it's like he could have had people come living like, it's okay, baby. And like,
they go down to the wharf.
It's like he wouldn't have gained weight. They go down,
it's like,
he could have taken Ozempic and like gone out to clubs and stuff. Like,
where were you?
I could have helped him.
You could have helped him a lot.
I in 2016, I was watching the same stuff he was watching on TV.
That's right.
Yeah. But also like the part of the country he's in, right? Also,
he's in Idaho.
He's
the Midwest,
right? So it has a little more of a right. If he was in San Francisco, he was in a bigger city. A lot of the problems social problems he had, he wouldn't have had.
Idaho has a lot of extremists too. Not to be like, I know people are calling me a cuck now, but look, if you haven't lived in a place where you can't find like-minded people, it's very lonely. It is very lonely. You have to go to a place that might suck, where there are other versions of people that suck that you've never met, to find a small percentage of people that kind of kick ass.
And that you connect with.
But it's kind of my belief that like 95% of all groups suck ass. And it's up to you to find the 5% within that group that don't suck.
Right.
So
I think like that's for everybody, and that's why like even if you were, there's something inside you, because like they say that a personality is like 30% is your DNA, 30% is your social context, but then there's a 30% that you cannot qualify, and that's why like you can be the son of your parents and living in that very conservative environment and still not fit in completely.
Yeah, because whatever reason you have a voice saying like, oh well, if I'm following Jesus's teachings, none of this matches up with Jesus's teaching in terms of the hatred of other people.
The moment you start questioning,
that leads to another thing, leads to another idea, learns into stumbling into other people reading certain books.
Right.
Slowly you just drift off of you get in your own little life vessel and you get off that ship completely.
Right.
And it feels like being excommunicated. Once you leave a church environment like that, it's really tough. It feels like you're dead.
Right. And especially to the community, like, you're never.
Yes. But here's what people don't typically talk about with instances like that is, so you grow up conservative Christian and then you leave that environment and you have to, build a new life for yourself, find new people, find a new way to live. But you only have the tools that you were given within the church.
Right.
So this is what Charlie is doing in my opinion. He starts misinterpreting the crucifixion in the way that I've seen a lot of Christians misinterpret it. That, and this is where Buddhism is a little bit more successful than Christianity, because Buddha goes through all these different ways where he's trying to figure out how to be enlightened, and he goes, no, that one's bullshit. I shouldn't starve myself. I shouldn't do that. That's bullshit.
Right.
And then he finally figures out how to be enlightened under the Bodhi tree and whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of Christians misinterpret the crucifixion as saying, oh, the path to enlightenment is through suffering.
And you have to suffer.
And it's through pain. And that is what Charlie is doing to himself. But since he's very, very intelligent, he's very good at lying to himself.
Right.
So, when you're overeating and binge eating like that, you go, well, I have to eat. I mean, is this really, It
seems grandiose, though, his sort of like, woe is me, like, oh, if the path to enlightenment is suffering, I'm going to suffer so bad. I'm going to gain 600 pounds. It just seems so selfish.
I have people very close to me like that. It's very frustrating.
Oh, really?
It's very frustrating.
When they're going through a hard time, they like make it harder on themselves.
Yes, and this is the thing that they can't accept. That here's the really, really hard pill for those guys to swallow. Mm-hmm. Is the people that hate themselves that much, they don't realize how much narcissism
Oh,
is
yeah.
goes
there.
into that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they go, well, I just hate myself. I'm like, well, it sounds like you think about yourself all the fucking
The
time.
A million
only thing
%.
in your
All you
mind.
do is think about yourself, and maybe you need some sort of a break from yourself. You know?
Right.
And you could do that by, thinking about someone else's wants or needs.
Right. It's a paradox and I feel like that's what Charlie's trying to do in the movie, at least at this moment. He reaches out to his daughter. He talks to his wife. I mean, he's trying to at least put those pieces together before the end of his life. Because also, like, he has a very strange relationship with the nurse.
He's a mass manipulator, man.
Yeah.
Think about it. He's manipulating everybody around him,
Right.
whether he knows it or not.
Yeah, it's his person. He's a charming, despite the fact of being kind of a monster, he's a charming guy.
He gets Ellie in with a massive amount of money. He
Right.
doesn't get her in because she wants to reconnect.
Right.
He knows that's not
She's
going to
like
work.
complete bribery.
But now that once she's here, now he can maybe start manipulating her a
putting
little
them-
more and getting in there and getting forgiveness,
Right. He has I hope it's an honest moment and not just pure manipulation at the end when he's like, hey, I feel so ashamed that I couldn't,
That I couldn't stand.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That is an honest moment, but it's also a woe is me moment again. Like there were so many opportunities where you could have gotten help, and like him, like not spending the money on medical services and saving it for this manipulation of his daughter is like complete self-destruction.
Yeah, also what he's doing to this poor woman who's like, I think also she has to be some sort of masochist to coming back. She feels guilty. Her brother, this is the person who was closest to her brother, and maybe they have like that happy moment. But still, like, she goes back every day there for more, and that is pretty dark.
People that aren't willing to make like any sort of emotional sacrifice, typically they want to throw money at their problems when everybody else is like, no, we don't really care about your money. We kind of want you to just say, like, we want you to be a human being, actually.
Right.
How about you be a human being and treat me like a human being?
Yeah.
I don't want your fucking money. In fact, it's patronizing.
Yeah. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. A lot of it's that.
That's Bobby. When he gives me $100 to go buy tobacco, and he's like, keep it.
Some people have that instinct of like, solving problems with money, and some of them are solved, but other ones doesn't matter how much money you have. One thing that I thought, like, so the first time that this guy stands up, and I think so.
Which is the what is the word? Apotheosis of
Right.
the film is as a fat guy stood up.
Right. But I thought
The climax of the film.
because until that moment, if the movie is it's a very drama-like. It feels like. And at that moment, to me, it switches genres to horror. There is something about, and there
The
is
leg coming down, like that shot.
when he stands up and is this, the camera starts moving for the first time, these lower angles. And obviously Aronofsky knows horror, and this is not a direct horror movie, but it's a scary moment. It is, I thought the movie kept it very interesting with his struggle in this house, and how, to me, like, I went through all this emotion, it's an emotional roller coaster watching this
crazy.
movie.
Especially how good is that guy Rob Simonson with the score?
Oh,
once the binge eating starts, that's when you first have like rhythm for the first
right.
time.
Oh my
So it starts
God.
coming in. I think he used these like big, long, like didgeridoo looking flutes.
When those little like montages start with them eating, it's like it's really horrible, but also very interesting. You want to keep watching.
When he's making like barbecue chip sandwiches with jelly and he's
Oh my
squirting.
God.
I never could figure out if he was putting ranch on the pizza or mayonnaise.
I think it's ranch.
Yeah, I think it's ranch.
Yeah.
But a lot of people suspect it's mayonnaise.
I
Really?
want to
Just like-
vomit when I see that.
So we do have some pizza if you guys want to try pizza the whale style.
For,
I
for
love
Ben.
Max.
Ben said like he watched it 9 times, so I think this is the real reason.
all right,
he
Here's
Well-
the other thing too. I love binge eating. That is a thing about me. Like I will have periods of time, and like that's people say they have problems with binge eating. Everybody has problems with binge eating, but I mean it is, especially as a sober person. I don't smoke weed. I don't cigarettes, no beer. All of that's gone. It's out of my life now. So the only thing
food
I
is
have
such a-
left.
How long are you sober?
6 years.
Oh wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think I was an alcoholic. I just I become. That's so good. I'm not an alcoholic. I just become very obsessed with things. So like I can't even have Zevia in my house because if I have 12 of them, I have one and I go, okay, let's have another. Okay, let's have another. Okay, let's have another. Let's have another.
I'm the same
I
way,
have
but-
a person. I think that's something that Bond does is like that kind of like
mental illness.
obsessive personality.
Okay, so we're gonna do
out, Andre.
It's 2 slices of ham on top of the pepperoni pizza.
Okay.
Then you pour the ranch, right?
In
And
that
then you
moment-
fold the top of it down a little bit to kind of create a little,
I know
little
anyone.
sandwich.
I know anyone watching is like, oh, does Ben have no respect for himself? It's like this is like fun for me.
It says for Ben on the
happy
post-it.
face.
Nobody touches this meat. It's for Ben.
And usually I don't do processed meat, but here we go. There we go. So there's one.
I mean, he orders 2 large pizzas and eats
Insane.
them in a second.
I know, right?
And in that moment, to me, is like because I was like,
It freaks me out, man.
right, I love pizza. You know, I
Yeah.
love,
There we go.
but
So then he puts ranch on it.
and
like
then he
this.
folds it like
Yeah.
a sandwich, like
Then he does
like
Get
New
it in
York style.
faster.
yeah, and he folds the top of it down a little
Funny
bit.
is I wanted to try to do this at home.
Right,
Private.
and you just didn't want to have to do it.
So then he kind of folds it like,
Yeah, the top he kind of folds
Like this,
Yeah,
right?
and then
Yes.
just like a little,
Yes.
almost like a little sandwich.
and then he just bites into it.
That is.
This is a viral. If you say that this is delicious, you
Dude,
might have a
I kind of get it. What if this is the beginning of me
of
becoming
now.
a whale?
Yeah, don't
Like beware men who fight monsters that you do not become one.
right. Wow.
Oh man, I love whale maxing. This is what I call whale maxing. When I go out, sometimes look,
You just let yourself.
you got to go a little crazy sometimes to keep from going insane.
Do you have a
So I'll
sweet
go out,
tooth?
I'll go
too?
to a restaurant. I'll literally like 3,500 calories worth of Indian food. That's my thing. Lately.
Wow.
Wow.
I'll eat a butter chicken, 2 orders of veggie samosas. I'll eat those little cracker things. I'll eat a tikka masala.
I mean, you're very
basmati
tall
rice.
too. Like
was
then
gonna
you can
say,
you can
yeah.
I'm
handle
like 6'4", yeah.
right. You can handle more. I mean, I don't need that much. I just like. Wow, I'm so happy. Do you like sweets? Are you like Snicker bars and things like he is?
Yeah, I just like eating stuff.
everything. Yeah.
No, I'm also like, I'm not that smart. So
Right.
when it comes to food, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like, there's bread and like cheese. Awesome.
Yeah. Of course.
Also,
Of course.
where I grew up, like,
Right.
Yeah.
especially my mom's, no offense to my mother, but like her cooking, you know, I never had a soft cookie one day in my life. The chicken was always burnt. I mean, you know, granted, my father was never helping out, so my mother was doing everything. But I mean, everything I ate tasted like utter shit.
Right.
I
so
hated my
so
mom's cooking. Yeah.
The worst.
I
one
wanted
question.
Wendy's.
Every day my mom would be like, yeah, I forgot, and then it burnt. And then
Yeah.
she just puts it in front of us.
Yeah, I just want McDonald's or Wendy's. That's all I ate growing up. I was like, or Mexican food. I was like, I'm
Right.
not eating your food. It's like, we're good.
So when was that moment for you where you say, okay, I'll take the ship and move out to California or
interesting.
far from here?
I begged my mom. I was like, I don't want to go to college. I had enough with scholarships to cover my college, though. And, man, I did not want to go. I remember crying to her a week before. I was like, please, I don't want to go. I hate it. I hate it here. I don't want to be, I just let me go to LA. I want to get a normal job. I want to get into comedy. I don't want to be here anymore. Cause like, since the time I was 12, I was making, like 9, I was making home videos. I was teaching myself how to edit on the computer.
Right.
I was,
You had
by
a
the
little
time
bit
I
of
was-
like creative
yeah.
bug.
And then once I was able to drive, and I never had any like real, I never had like friends or anything really. I had a couple buddies, but like I always felt like a loner. I would like go to the thrift store by myself and I would get VHS tapes. And I was like, what is this? Reservoir Dogs. I'd buy VHS tapes for 25 cents. Remember Reservoir Dogs? It blew my mind when I was 16 because I put in the VHS tape player after my parents went to bed. And I was like, you can make movies non-linear. You can have cussing in them. Like I never
Right.
seen
You have only
anything
watched like the
that.
10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Dude, I never seen anything hyper violent like that.
Right.
And I've read the Bible.
What year
at
was
that point.
this?
So I was 16. So this was 2006
Oh, wow.
or 7, I guess.
Wow.
And then that changed everything for me. And then I started writing tons of screenplays. That's when I started writing. And all I wanted to, so then I started making more sketches and putting them on YouTube and just writing them all the time. Then I started performing in the pep rallies and at the talent show at my high school. I started doing stand-up. I got banned from the only open mic in my hometown.
Nice.
And I was just constantly, I just wanted to make stuff. And I didn't realize I was trying to like express myself, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I came out here and worked for Funny or Die for 6 months during college.
So you
but I really only came out here to get into the comedy scene. What's that?
You didn't get off the hook with your mom. She said, "No, you're going to college."
This is what I said to myself. I said, I was mature enough to understand this. In life, you got to do some things that aren't for you. They're for other people.
Yeah.
It's to make them happy, and you owe people in life.
Right.
My mother, I bless her heart, I tore her stomach wide open, and she did everything for me growing up, and she loves me more than anyone in the world, and I owed that to her.
Right.
It was her wish, so I just did it. But I purposely kind of tanked my GPA because I wanted to not have to use it. I was like, I want my GPA to be bad. I could have got above a 3.0 and I purposely didn't hand in something on the last day because I knew it would get me below a 3.0, so I can never say I had a 3.0. I have a 2.98.
Oh, that's so funny.
I purposely, how crazy is that? That's so insane.
But that's just like hyper intelligence. It's like that.
No, but also like your fears and your obsessions are there from the beginning. Like you know that you don't want that path.
Well, I didn't want to have a plan B because I was like, if you have a plan B, that's just what you're gonna do.
Absolutely true.
Isn't it like people always? I'm not the first to make this comparison, but it's in The Dark Knight Rises when he has to finally get out of the pit. He has to jump without the rope. Right. That's how he finally makes it. You can't have the rope tied to your back. You can't have any of that. So then after I came out here, worked at Funny or Die at an internship for 6 months. They had no interest in hiring me after. Obviously, I was drunk all the time there. A lot of writers were, but like you know. I mean, literally as soon as it was 3:00 and a lot of people left since Will Ferrell was sponsored by Milwaukee Bush. Was it Milwaukee?
That's
I think it's so funny.
So y'all had it at the office?
Dude, there were pallets of it and it was warm. And I love warm cans of beer.
Oh, that's perfect.
I'm utter trash. So I used to have tons of warm beer in the trunk of my car that I would drive around LA. I would pull over and just like have a hot beer.
It's okay if you drove with it.
No, I did. I had tons of open containers in my car.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
friends were like, "What?" There you go. You have to stop drinking and driving. And I'm like, all the cans are empty.
Oh, I get that talk all the time. Don't worry. I feel you on that.
I was just nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
Mine's all like margarita cups.
So how did you turn it around there, like at least the drinking and was just
so I was just drunk every night for like 7 years, and I just get obsessed. I get obsessed with things. Like I saw The Whale so many times in theater. That's not okay,
right?
You know, so I become obsessed with things, and I mean, you can't change really who you are, but you can certainly change the things you think about. So if I'm going to be this type of person who becomes obsessed with things, like how can I mitigate that? Like I can meditate in the morning. That calms my brain down. What things am I going to obsess with? Oh, I'm going to try to write this novel. I'm going to try to write this screenplay.
Yeah,
I'm going
an outlet for your creativity, right?
Yeah, I'm going to read a lot. I'm going to make really good sketches that take a lot of time and effort. I'm going to, a podcast is easy though. It's just talking with your friends. But like in terms of a higher artistic thing for me to focus on, I always have to have a bigger thing to really like hyper focus. And I can get really lost in working on something too. 18, 20 hours pass and I am like a fucking lunatic to a fault working on something.
Well, but that's kind of like, using that as a superpower.
Yeah. But the thing is like, it can go the other.
Right. No, you want to harness it in this direction, so it doesn't destroy you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have alcoholism though. That's a totally different thing.
Right. It was you just liked it.
Yeah, dude. Like if I go to the theaters, like I love Coke Zero. So when I go to AMC to go see some shitty movie that they put out, but I just love going to the theaters, I know you do too, I'll get the huge Coke Zeros. I'll have like 4 or 5 of those fuckers.
Whoa.
I love Coke Zero.
Yeah, I do too.
I have that.
You get the
problem.
I
flavored kind?
requested it here at the office. We have some here.
You get the flavored kind with the machine?
Yeah, I get the vanilla.
Yeah.
Or
Damn.
cherry sometimes. I try to avoid the cherry though, because I'm having a baby and I heard the red dye, like, turns them into flipper babies and stuff.
Oh, that's funny.
Never heard of that. But yeah. Oh wow. Okay. So then
I like going to I want to go to the movies just so I can get a soda.
I
Because I'm
completely
trying to
understand.
compartmentalize, because I can't have it in the house.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to drink. If I have
Then
one,
you're gonna non-stop it. Yeah.
It's called whale maxing. It's a real thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think not. For me, the theater is like, for other people, I always say like other people went to church, I went to the movie theater, and they had a similar experience in the sense of like community, and it's like a place that I'm happy and feels like home. So I don't mind going to see something that is stupid. I don't care.
That's interesting you say that, because that's the reason I stopped going to church. Because my family moved and I was still stuck at the university in my hometown. And I knew if I didn't go to church by myself for the first time when I was 19, that someone would call my dad.
Oh, wow.
Because they all...
They all know each other.
Yeah, how'd you know that?
I just know the school.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're D1. I played golf
exactly.
for 1 year. Not really.
Oh,
I got really fat and I stopped playing golf completely.
Wait,
but I
you
was
were-
all state in high school.
You're an NCAA athlete.
I technically was, yeah.
That's awesome.
Even though I never competed.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
I was
though.
just on the team.
No, I
And
just
I was
remember.
like really fat, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think this was for me." And he's like, "When's the last time you touched a club?" I'm like, "I got really depressed like all summer, and I didn't pick up a club for 4 months." He's like, "Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he was a super nice guy though.
Yeah.
Super nice. The coach was.
And did you have friction with your house when you stopped going to church?
Oh yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it was a huge
Yeah.
battle, But you really intimidate people by so the thing that a lot of conservative Christians believe is that you can only find happiness through Christ, and it's very intimidating to them if you're happier than them without Christ,
Right.
quote unquote. And I am, by the way, I am Christian to a degree.
Right.
I am not atheist. I am flirting now with being a Gnostic Christian. I've been reading the Nag Hammadi and the Gnostic texts, okay?
Right.
So I'm not shitting on religion, but whatever sect of Christianity someone is, they typically believe that you can't fully be happy. And then, so if you actually are just happy, it has a great impact on those people, whether you know it or not.
Mm.
And then they start to kind of reevaluate the things they...
Did that happen in your family?
Yeah, it did. It
Oh,
did.
wow.
They've chilled out a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I
So-
And I
Yeah.
love them. I
Yeah.
love them so much.
right.
That's cool that like you have a good relationship with them and you have love for them, even though they're.
It's not a great relationship, but
Well, I mean, you have
it's
love
better.
for them. Yeah, that's cool.
at least
though.
it exists.
Exactly.
Right.
It could very well not exist. I'm sure there's a
Easily.
million people
Easily.
who.
Oh, and there's a million also
Yeah.
like, yeah, if you
There's
are a
some people they never
Scientologist,
forget.
they'll never talk to you or whatever. Like,
Yeah, it seems like a very mature
yeah.
way it's gone.
Yeah,
through.
you
Even
have
if
to.
secretly your parents will like you to, see the light at the end and say, oh, you're not gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to come out on Facebook all the time.
Oh,
and
that's so good.
my parents were like, "Why are you doing this?" Because I would have a long
funny.
thing. I would put it on Facebook when I was
We're
like
just trying
17.
to provoke.
I would say, "Hey, I want everybody to know it's really hard to admit this, but I'm gay, and I met someone I really like, and I'm moving, and I would just name a place.
Right.
I'm dropping out of school. I'm going to
So funny.
they're the love of my life," and I would just write this whole sincere thing, and my relatives would all start calling my parents like, "What is wrong with Ben?" They're like, "He's joking," and they'd be like, "What's the joke?"
Right.
They're like, "I don't know. He just thinks it's funny." I would do this like every 3 months. I would come out again, and I would
Your
worry
family will be
everybody.
up in arms. Yeah, that was your joke. It's like you want everybody to be riled up.
Yeah, I would just God, that's the thing is like I'm like, "Oh, what's the thing you're not supposed to say that
Right,
you're
you're
gay?"
just-
Well, I'm gay then.
Right.
Oh
right,
yeah.
right.
Is-
Hi, everybody.
Do you have
I'm
an
gay.
issue with context? Because that's something we've talked about. I think I talked about this with.
Are you asking me if I have Asperger's?
No,
Do you have an
I
issue with context?
I have an issue with context where I feel like I get upset in my heart when I can't say the thing I want to say because of where I am, basically. Like if I'm on a plane, I have to say bomb. Like that's like the
Yeah.
Well, I did that a couple weeks ago, but that's just like a random example.
Yeah.
Do you have ODD? Opposition defiance disorder. I have a friend who, if you tell him to do something, he's like, "Well, his name's Joey LaFleur. Joey will be like, "Well, I'm gonna do that thing then." He's like, "Well, you tell me I can't say bomb. Well, I might say bomb."
Maybe I have something like that. I definitely feel like I don't.
Is it like a comedic thing? You just wanna.
It's not for
challenge
anyone
people?
except for myself.
Right.
And then like, I want to tell you about it a day later.
Right.
Like even with like going to work sometimes, I'll be like, well, why can't I have half a White Claw in the car? I'm like, F y'all. Like,
Right.
like, why do I need like license plates? Like,
You
things
just
like
define the rules, whatever social rules there are.
yeah, I just want to break them a little bit as a sign of like slight disrespect. Like just slight disrespect.
Like as an irreverence to things.
Yeah, like when I'm on the east side, which I live in now, like the Silver Lake, Los Feliz area, I love speeding. I love because everyone there drives so slow, and I'm like, you hipster little bitch. And I love just driving really fast, like blasting like ridiculous like Houston rap music. I just want to be kind of, it's like the non-lame edgelord is what I'm trying to get at.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Were you like that, like define rules? Because I mean, obviously, as a conservative Christian, like in that education, they're like everything has rules. You can't. The can-dos are like right, like it's
Well, yeah, that's the whole conflict of the whale, right?
right,
Is that you can't be gay, and that's why they're there.
right.
That's the whole. It's because of the dogma, and I believe Samuel Hunter. His name just came to me. The guy
Yeah.
who wrote
Yeah,
The
I
Whale.
know it's Sam H.
He was gay, raised in Idaho. He was raised conservative Christian. Excuse me. And I mean, I'm whale maxing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to digest. I will say that is, I'm never gonna do that again.
I
for the
I
best.
get it. I get it.
He was raised conservative Christian, and he was gay, and he knew from a young age, and he got very overweight. And he said that he quote unquote had an off ramp, an emotional off ramp, meaning he had people around him that supported him.
Second.
And so luckily he didn't go down that road.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what if I write a character where there is no off ramp? Which I think a lot of writers do that, because I know Paul Schrader did the same thing with Taxi Driver, as he saw
course.
himself becoming this bitter guy in LA.
He was like
who resented the
exorcised all his demons.
He
in
wanted to
that.
see what would happen if I actually became this guy I feel like I'm
Travis, yeah,
becoming. And it
absolutely.
scared him so much when he wrote the script in 15 days. He goes, oh my, it scared him back the other way.
Yeah. What do you guys think happened to all the other characters at the end of the movie?
So at the end of the movie, when Charlie sees the bright light, those are the fires of hell.
Okay.
He died and he went to hell.
He went to hell. And then what happened to everybody else?
They were gay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Ellie, it's open to interpretation, but I think Ellie's actually, I think the damage is done there. And I think she's a girl who will be, dissecting cats in her shed and doing God knows what else. And she's going to end up on the news or something. And,
Yeah, there's no redemption. There's no...
she'll be some sort of thrill-seeking, person who wants to go 140 miles per hour on the... Her life will be like Grand Theft Auto 5, She'll be driving around the city, just, whipping into pedestrians
that's
and
awesome.
whatnot. She thinks life is a video game.
Okay. What about Liz?
Liz, the Asian lady?
The nurse.
What does happen to her? Well,
She took a weight out of her, out of her shoulders, or is it like,
I think she dies very bitter.
Yeah, I think she has a miserable life in Idaho.
She looks for the next person to take care
Yeah.
of.
She's one of the worst characters, actually. She's like Mephisto. She's Mephistopheles. She does the devil's bidding. He is, this dark force. He represents the unconscious and the personification of the elements within the unconscious. And she makes sure that whale is fed. She's a total enabler, which is way worse than Charlie.
When I see those scenes, I have mixed feelings, because she understands him, and she also grants his wishes, right? No hospital because he doesn't want to spend the money. he's dying, so whatever. He's hungry, so let me get him this 2 meatball sandwiches, so she's enabling him to do that. And at the same time, like, what else is there for her to do? What could she do?
But also, is it because she couldn't feed her brother? He wouldn't eat, so this is kind of her redemption.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, hey, I'll just feed this guy like this, and then I feel like I've done something, or I've made a difference, or something.
Right.
That almost seems too A to B for me, for like this story. Like, it almost seems like it has to be more nuanced than that. Like, I more agree that she's just the ultimate enabler. Like, there's not like much going on in her head other than like a misery kind of person, like a miserable human who's just not asking questions, just doing their job.
To me, it's the mother archetype. Sadly, I mean, I probably shouldn't think of a mother that way, but to me, that's what a mother is. It's someone who's like very sad, who empties her entire life into another person, and then is just a shell of a human being by the end.
So sad.
Yeah.
So sad. Oh, so brutal.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, this movie is not to watch. It's not for watching multiple times. Not because it's not a good movie.
But I like the idea of watching. I like what
tragedies are so funny.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about. But that's like a real thing. We smile during tragedy. We talk about 9/11 more than people at the Pentagon here. Like, like we really do. We're like obsessed with 9/11. Like, I'm obsessed with these things.
What happened on 9/11?
Yeah.
Well, I always talk about 9/11. I love it. But like, more my thing is like, I like what Ben was saying about like wanting to just like stare at like the disgusting like humanity of the whale, like wanting to like entrench yourself. I feel very similarly, but not with like disgusting like things, but with like thrill seeking, with some sort of like gnarliness, like
holes in the night.
Yeah, holes in the night. That's right. But like, but like that story I told on Bad Friends, where like, I saw some during COVID. I saw some ladies of the night that weren't ladies, and I left my door unlocked, and one got in, and we got too close for comfort, and I was like, please get out. Like, I like getting to that.
You put yourself into that,
I would just
uncomfortable position on purpose.
1,000,000%. Like, this is, I mean, people are going to call me a fucking idiot asshole for this, but whatever. I would turn off my lights on my motorcycle and drive like that at night just to see what would happen. And I would run from the police. Like, there's just something about like embracing the gnarliness of life that is probably suicidal, but it seems to be that, like, I don't know. I just want to like touch the edge for some reason.
You're Taylor Kish in season 2 of True Detective.
Doesn't he have gay tendencies too?
He does.
Okay, thank you.
It seems you might be interested in stretching the limits of your own ability.
I'll say this. I feel like I have done that in my life. Like, I've always felt like, oh, I was supposed to go nowhere, all these things. So I feel like I have stretched the limits of my ability in my brain. And then, in other ways as well.
Yeah. I always think I'm way too normal to work with you.
So we've worked together for years.
That's what I'm saying. I'm way too normal. Because every time he comes, like, there's no way I can top his stories. It's like, it's always like, oh, my life is pretty that's simple. Okay, two more questions. One, about the format, because you don't see 4x3 movies like Square.
Yeah, it's fun, yeah? What did you think
often.
of it? Because you're more of a cinematographer type of guy.
I thought the reason for me was, okay, this is the opposite of a Western, right? This is the opposite of a place where I can show a big landscape. I want to be on someone's face in a tiny space. Mm-hmm. So that way I don't have to, I have more room to show. I have a little more verticality and less space to show around me. So I have, the room doesn't seem so small. I think that as a practical thing, I thought it was the decision to just, okay, I'm going to be on basically his face the whole time, and there's nothing around this house that is that interesting to show wide.
You're just kind of seeing the contents of his life,
right?
Really
it's
sad.
Like, so I like that.
The bird on the plate. I mean, it's so sad.
Right. It makes it feel a little more artsy for some reason. I don't know. That was the standard, format. Because the opposite would be something like, the Hateful Eight, which also
course, yeah.
happens in one room basically, but it's all the set was built to be so panoramic.
It definitely, you know what? Now that I think about it, that 3x4, that is that square that he lives in on the internet too.
Right? Yeah. He exactly.
I was thinking the same thing.
It's like all like that, and I thought it was interesting.
Because he doesn't exist in real life.
He's that shadow, and I thought, well, I don't know if people are turned off by this. If it's like when something is not according to,
probably not if you saw The Whale, I think.
But I thought it worked well.
Maybe Darren Aronofsky was like, look, it just makes him look fatter.
right.
If smaller screen makes him look bigger, and it's funny to me.
Is this your?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I finally saw Oppenheimer.
Right.
I watched it on my iPad twice. I loved it, and I was.
David Lynch walks in and shoots him in the head.
But I wanted to be like,
he watched it on his iPad.
I watched it
Christopher
in my
Nolan
Apple Watch.
I was like, what's up with the 70 millimeter? I was like, the whole movie's like
70 millimeter IMAX. That was shot like
it was
gigantic.
crazy. I was like, no, I didn't need this. I have an iPad. It's like from 2 years ago. I loved it. I had subtitles on.
It fits.
I watched it on a plane too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a different conversation. That's a movie worth watching big. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, you can't watch that on a phone.
I feel like it kills it's one of those things that are very visual.
I was literally watching it on my phone too.
And you were watching it vertical too, where you have two big black stars on either side. Like you didn't even fucking turn it.
No, what's funny is with those movies. No, I turn it not horizontal, vertical.
Landscape. You turn it vertical.
Yeah, so I can do other things too. If like I get a text, I scroll up and I go, "Oh, Andres."
No way.
You're watching a line writer videos below it.
My. Yeah.
Watching Family Guy clips.
Like Naked Lois or something.
No, that's like speaking in church, and like playing. That's how I feel like you disrespect in the art form.
Oh, don't worry. On Christmas, when I do go to church, I will be watching Oppenheimer on my phone for sure.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more questions. One, like, is this your favorite Aronofsky movie?
Oh yeah, for sure. But you know what? I've never got around to actually watching Pi yet. And my friend told me that I would be obsessed with Pi if I saw it. But I've seen Requiem for a Dream hundreds of times. And I've seen.
Well, they have the connection with the addiction.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Swan I thought was great, was terrific. The Wrestler is to me a absolutely perfect film.
Yeah.
It's a better movie than The Whale by for sure. There's just something about
this that connects. Yeah.
People don't get that. Like, favorite doesn't mean I think it's the best thing ever made.
Like, it connects you. I always think like there is a certain je ne sais quoi about something that speaks to you.
You're drawn to. You don't get to choose what you dream.
Right.
You don't get to choose any of this stuff.
Right.
You don't get to choose why you like vanilla over chocolate. It's the way it fucking is. I'm sorry.
I agree. I think the analytical part gets to just this part. I mean, you can appreciate something and not be your favorite or not like it. What about you, Carlos?
The Wrestler.
The Wrestler. Okay.
Yeah, I saw it at the ArcLight. I thought I saw it by myself, and I was just like, "This is." I don't know. Before that, there were only a couple movies that I could remember that are just like, it's about a guy going through some shit. His life is changing, and this is the exact realistic version of that. It reminded me of like The Limey by Steven Soderbergh. Like, completely different story, obviously.
Yeah.
But still, like, this shaky cam right in your face. This is exactly like, this guy's like terrible 2 weeks in this guy's life. Here you go.
What I really appreciate with him is that he really doesn't impose this preconceived style that we think of him to each movie. Like, he really changes he thinks about a movie differently, and then he does a different style for each movie, and that's pretty cool because Pi does feel closer to like Requiem for a Dream in terms of the shoot style. I think it's amazing. I saw it when I was in college, and it's like one of those movies that, I mean, he made it for $60,000 or something like that.
What'd you guys think of Mother?
And Mother.
I never saw Mother.
Never saw it.
Oh, yeah. I recommend it because, especially, I would say to you, because Mother, if this is a metaphor, I mean, Mother is a different type of metaphor. It's a metaphor about creation, and it's basically Earth and God, and you have all the Genesis instances of the Bible in the movie as metaphors, and people really hated it. But in terms of filmmaking, I think it's so powerful.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why people hate that because
And
like
it's mother with like lowercase and an exclamation point, which is a
I think it was like Jennifer Lawrence. So
It's Jennifer
she might have
Lawrence,
like
Javier
annoyed me that
Bardem.
week. Oh,
Yeah.
Javier Bardem's in it? See, I didn't see that part.
yeah.
what's with people being like their reaction to any sort of study in semiotics where people go, oh, there's Christian elements in it, so I don't like it. It's like, so what?
No, I think people
everything
didn't
is based off
understand
of
it
other
or
things.
1,000,000%. Wait, what are examples of that though? Like,
Oh,
what people-
I mean, like for instance, the whale being literally a metaphor for Moby Dick,
I see.
and then like, dude, Herman Melville, he never made any money, and his friends finally talked him into quitting writing. And he, if you want to talk about someone living with ODD, people hated Moby Dick so much and thought it sucked so much ass at that time. But first of all, anybody who makes a great work, they almost never get to live to see it respected, ever. Fucking ever.
There's,
They're
like,
always
only a-
listed as frauds, and everybody who you think was like heralded in their day and everybody
doesn't
loved.
matter with art form, there's the
People
Van Goghs and the
No, they hate.
Yeah,
Everybody thought Kurt Vonnegut was an idiot who
Right.
made books for kids. Everybody thought Herman Melville had to like. He quit writing the last 25 years of his life. People hated Moby Dick so much. He goes, all right, you hate that? I'm going to make Billy Budd, which was basically Moby Dick, but the guy's gay. So that's how much he was like, you don't like that weird shit? I'm going to get even
double
weird.
I
down.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love doubling down.
Yes.
But if
Yeah,
you're a
like
true
always.
artist, usually you are a little bit ahead of your time, and,
Yes.
and usually has that. I mean, only a few artists get to live and like.
And here's what's beautiful about that is like guys like Cormac McCarthy were so inspired by Moby Dick. Cormac McCarthy, he was our Faulkner. He
Yeah.
recently passed away. That Moby Dick was the greatest inspiration for Blood
him.
Meridian.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think some excerpts from Blood Meridian are kind of just straight up lifted from Moby Dick.
Yeah.
But he read that book every single year. And this is a guy who probably read 25,000 plus books in his lifetime. So that's how special these works are.
Right.
There's also a great chapter in Moby Dick, I think it's like chapter 6, where a preacher is telling us the story of Jonah and the whale. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And clearly Moby Dick is based off of, is heavily influenced by Jonah and the whale.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
can, like these things, they go
And
back
Aronofsky, I mean,
infinitely.
I
you
don't
can't reject
know-
something because it has Christian elements in it. This is
No, that's insane.
this is what life is.
Absolutely.
Things aren't born from nothing.
And also like it's a part of our culture. It's engraved. It's like if you study any sort of history or art history, like if there
You
was no
appropriate from
religion,
everybody you love, you know?
absolutely. And like I mean, in an artist world, like Picasso used to say, like good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Exactly.
Like just like take it and
Tarantino, yeah.
right, absolutely.
So many things he does are an homage.
A million%.
Right, and taking it and like doing it your way, I think unapologetically, it's fine.
I mean, you talk to some, great musicians, and they go, "Oh, I was just trying to like you." Kurt Cobain was like, "Do people not realize I'm just trying to make a Pixies record?
Right.
Because I love the Pixies."
Yeah, yeah.
And they go, "Oh, how are you doing this new thing?" And he's like, "Jeez, I thought everybody thought I was gonna say I'm just like a copycat
right.
or something."
Which shows you should just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should just go after things if you're creative and like let the inspiration flow.
Yeah, you got to create in a vacuum, man. You can't create anything with the idea of having some sort of validation.
Oh,
or
no.
whatever at the end.
I think it's different, but it's the same as like science. You build on someone else's work before, and like with art is the same. Like
and you
can't
can't imagine the reaction to it as you're doing it.
Yeah.
To.
And every successful filmmaker, you think like Taxi Driver. Oh, well, this is a personal film. I didn't know that this wouldn't have any impact. And or
And
a
it
lot
changed
of-
cinema.
Right.
It changed the country. Had such a big cultural
Exactly.
impact.
And there's a lot of the big movies are like that. It's like, Star Wars is like, well, he was hidden in Hawaii thinking everybody's going to hate this thing. And nobody thinks like it's like, everybody was like, oh, nobody above 12 is going to watch this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wait a second. Now another chapter in film history. So you never know.
You never know. And I think Sorcerer came out at that time too by Friedkin.
Right. All
And
of those
no one
70s.
understood that movie at all. And it's incredible.
That's an incredible movie that it still goes like,
Still
underappreciated.
underappreciated.
Yeah.
And it never will be but it's so good.
It's a great movie.
It's a
great
masterpiece.
movie.
Yeah. But people go, so the movie's called Sorcerer.
Yeah,
It
has a
premiered
weird
the opening
title.
week of Star Wars.
right.
He doesn't even know why he called it sorcerer. I think because the whole movie is about they're basically alchemists.
Yeah,
because they're going to get this other material to change this combustible
and
fire.
it was already a remake of something that was already successful. So it was. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
that's great.
Anyway, I mean, with Aronofsky, there's a lot of religion because like Mother has a lot of like connotations with religion. Obviously, this movie.
By the way, speaking of Schrader,
Yeah.
Schrader, who I love him. I love him.
No,
So
I bet now I know you're gonna go with the dark.
I love
people.
First Reformed and
Right.
shit like that. Look, Paul Schrader to me is a genius.
Yeah,
Did you see the interview? Because I know you love Tarantino.
Yeah.
That Schrader asked, or Tarantino called Schrader, and I don't think Schrader was supposed to say this to the press, but he's old.
right.
He doesn't even know his Facebook is public. He doesn't know the internet is the internet. He
Right.
thinks it's like his diary or something.
He just made a movie called like something Gardener.
Oh yeah, the Gardener. The Gardener. Yeah, I saw it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's part of the trilogy.
Yeah.
It's based off of Pickpocket, which is amazing. Which all of his movies, but again, going to people referencing other things. If you see Pickpocket, that's
Amazing
every
movie.
single Paul Schrader film is basically Pickpocket.
Right.
Okay.
The guy alone in a room writing in his diary.
So
With some
much
major
influence
conflict.
for such a small movie. Yeah.
But Tarantino called him and asked if he could remake shot for shot the final scene in Rolling Thunder when they shoot up the brothel, when Tommy Lee Jones
Right.
Amazing.
and that soap opera star shoot up that brothel. And Tarantino's final movie is called The Critic.
The Critic.
I think it's about Paul Schrader. If you look at the timeline of everything,
That's gonna be interesting.
what two people have completely revolutionized cinema in the past 50 years? Paul Schrader is one with Taxi Driver, and then the next person was Pulp Fiction had a major cultural impact.
Yeah.
When Tarantino there were so many copycats and everything after that, right?
Yeah.
So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think, was Tarantino's love letter to Hollywood and how much he loves it.
To
I think The
LA.
Critic is going to be about how much he hates Hollywood.
Interesting.
I think The Critic
Amazing.
might be this Paul Schrader character because Paul Schrader was a film critic before he started making films. And he thought at that time he might become this Travis Bickle Taxi Driver guy.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if The Critic is some sort of movie where there's this movie critic who's like like a nihilist weirdo freak guy, and he goes into the Hollywood Hills and is like killing these celebrities, or
That
he
would
goes to
match
like the
the casting
Oscars
that he
and just
chose.
kills everybody in the in the Dolby Theater.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
something we've actually talked about. When I think we were talking about what terrorist act we would want to do the most. And I said I would want to throw C4 into the Academy Awards and shoot everyone.
By the way, the opinions of the members of the group, doesn't, we do not condemn, condone them as a part of the
You don't
7X
condemn them.
family. Yeah. Anyway, final question. Why do people who haven't seen The Whale should watch The Whale?
I mean, you probably shouldn't see it.
It's a great endorsement.
No, there's better. Look, the way I am in life, I think you gotta be like a magnet, and your magnet's gonna attract certain things, and just you gotta be in tune with that, and you gotta let things, certain bodies of work from people, you gotta let those things smack into you and hit you. You can't go force yourself to sit down and watch something that you're probably not really drawn to for whatever reason. So, I mean, it might just be an upsetting thing and you don't really learn anything and you kind of forget it. So, but if you're like me, and especially if you love literature, you should definitely go see it.
Cool.
Because it's definitely a warning call to a lot of people who avoid life through literature. They think if they can understand other characters and their stories that they can
get the secret.
They think
of
their
life.
knowledge will save them, I guess.
Right.
And it
From
just
living.
won't. And all the stories are very important for navigating your own life. But I mean, you can't. I mean, look at Charlie's literally immobile. He's immobile,
Yeah.
So, and they never show how he takes shits
Never.
or pisses.
I'm not upset about that.
I really wanted to see that.
I
And
kind of
that's
wanted
why,
to see him take a shit too, actually.
that's why I think you should watch it, which is I think you should watch everything gnarly, everything crazy. Like if it scares you, jump right into it. And that brings me back to like your thing of like wanting to see the intensity of life and the grossest stuff ever. It's like,
you want to look life in the eye.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I want to die knowing like I did everything, and that includes having to see the whale.
Yeah.
Like that's one of them.
I think if I'm so bored by most things, and when I see something, there's two things I love about a work of art. One, when I go, I've never seen anything like this before. And then the second thing that really makes it for me, I go, wow, only that person could make that.
Oh, I like that.
That's cool. What I really, when I read a book or watch a movie or anything, I go, only that person could have made that thing.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's good or bad,
right.
If I can feel that in my fingers, that's what is electric to me and makes me come alive the way the characters are coming alive. And then it's a cherry on top if also it's like, you know, sort of transfiguring some pain within me unconsciously, because I'm not in control. None of us are in control. We think that our mind is controlling everything. Right. There's something else that's driving us. And that's why all these stories and all these things are important, and why we gravitate, because it's speaking to something. It's speaking to that thing that dreams for us every night. The thing that's actually making the decisions for us.
Interesting.
Which is what Charlie embodies for Ellie. He, like I said, he's the
driving force.
He's the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is generally represented by water, and Charlie is the elements therein, and it's controlling his daughter. Yeah, he's an ocean. Controlling her entire life, and look what it's turning her into. Ben, do you want to plug anything? Yeah, patreon.com/Lemon Party is my podcast. I do it with my brother, Jace Avery. And Devin Costa, we get really wild over there. It's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, whatever. If you're sick of podcasts talking about the same things, we don't do that. We just try to be really funny and ridiculous. And we have a lot of fun. So it's Lemon Party. And if you want to support us on Patreon, it's patreon.com/Lemon Party. And we also, we make comedy sketches too. So if you're into cinema and stuff, I try to make them like mini movies. I shoot them, in the cinematic, the wide, anamorphic bullshit. Yeah, the opposite of the whale. The stuff that, and then I post them on Twitter. Defeats the purpose. Yeah. So, you can go check out my, the Lemon Party sketches and the podcast. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, there'll be a link. At Ben Avery is good as all my social media. Yeah, you guys can click the link in the description. Yep. Oh, thank you. Cool. Absolutely. Go watch Ben's podcast. And we'll watch The Whale. I think it has also beautiful performance, great acting. I mean, Brendan Fraser won an Oscar for this. It's a really deserved. It's a master director, and even if the movie I think is a little dark, it's still worth watching, and obviously inspires interesting conversations like you see. And we'll see you guys next week on another episode of SOS VHS.